Hi, my name is Brian Pentland, and this presentation concerns the poetics of process, finding rhythm and rhyme in processual phenomena using some software called ThreadNet. This is for the Academy of Management Professional Development Workshop on process methods. Um, my story today is simple. We want to relate process in the moment to wider processual phenomena, and to do so you need to consider rhythm and rhyme. Tools like ThreadNet can help us find rhythm and rhyme by visualization. I think that's really important. So now, if you take a thing-centric point of view, relating a piece of a process to a larger, wider process is easy. You just add up inputs and outputs. Each shovel in the moment increases or decreases the wider pile of dirt. But that's kind of boring. From the relational point of view, it's much more interesting because process in the moment can be related to broader processes along many dimensions. You got to find the rhythm in the rhyme. By rhythm, I mean repetitive temporal patterns. By rhyme, I mean the correspondence between pieces of those patterns, like the sounds of words. Now, I'm using these terms metaphorically, obviously, to help us understand how processual phenomena are related. So the question is how to find rhythm and rhyme in practices, processes, projects, and other processual phenomena. Let's start with the basics, context and time. Process in the moment is like just one little piece of action. It's lonely. It wants to know how it's related to other wider processes. How does it compare to other processes? All I can really do is observe it. So I observe that one piece of a process and ask maybe what else could have happened. We observe one piece, but we could have observed others. And that's important because the significance of each action comes from these alternatives, kind of a basic idea in qualitative data analysis. Of course, context also matters because we know these actions are situated. Depends on the actor, other actors, the location, beliefs, intent, institutional, material aspects. All of those things are important. The significance of any action or event depends on the combination of these contextual factors. So for example, pulling a trigger on this gun is very different from pulling the trigger on this gun. And it matters where I am and what it's pointed at and what my role is and 100 other things. Temporal context also matters because actions in a process are situated in some kind of temporal flow. What happened first? What could happen next? What are the typical paths? What are the possible paths? Is this one action part of some larger event or larger pattern? How can it be composed or aggregated? So if you put that all together, you realize that actions or events are situated along multiple dimensions of time and context. We could label those things, the temporal dimension is syntagmatic, contextual dimension is paradigmatic, or we can just say rhythm and rhyme because that sounds cool. All right, so what's new here? Well, actually not that much. The idea that actions are situated is a foundational idea. However, considering the sequential or temporal context, right, the rhythm along with these other dimensions, the rhyme, is crucial for processual research. Rhythm and rhyme are how we discern similarities and differences between things that occur over time. Current process analysis software tools, however, are not particularly sensitive to this. They tend to treat actions and events like unitary, context-free objects. So if you look at any of the string matching or minor or those kinds of things, they tend to treat each event as a unitary thing, which is quite different than what we're talking about here. It leaves out context. So in response to that, I've been working on some software called ThreadNet, which is intended to help visualize patterns in narrative data. ThreadNet weaves narrative threads into narrative networks. Now I could talk through all the stuff in the software, but the key point is that ThreadNet uses contextualized data, like we've been talking about with time and context, rhythm and rhyme, to create narrative networks like this. And we have a paper coming out in it called Rediscovering Handoffs in Academy of Management Discoveries that explains this in more detail. The basic idea is pretty easy. Let's talk about let's use an example that'll help get everybody thinking. If we think of events in a story as beads on a thread, then when you look at similar stories, you find, Well, all the beads kind of line up and they look very much the same. If you look at stories that are different, you see, wow, a lot of different beads there, not too much in common. So let's say that you have a collection of data for multiple stories and you want to find the patterns, multiple performances of a process or a practice. And the one bead rule says whenever you find the same event in different stories, you have to use the same bead. So story A here goes through a particular bead, but so does story B, right? So let's do our little thought experiment. And let's consider a range of possibilities from processes or performances that are all the same, ones that are similar, or ones that are all different. So if the stories are all the same, what does our set of beads look like? Well, all the threads are going to go through a single line of beads. Same rhythm, perfect rhyme, just like that. If all the stories are different, what's it going to look like? Well, each thread is going to go through a separate line of beads. Different rhyme, different rhythm, nothing the same, all unique. What if the stories have similarities? What's it going to look like? Well, if the threads share some beads, they're going to be woven into a narrative network, which will have partial rhythm and rhyme throughout the structure. And that's what we're looking for. So let's look for some examples. Do you see any rhythms and rhymes? Now remember, we're talking about starting with sequential data like this, just a spreadsheet kind of format, and weaving it into a network. And we're going to look at 4 departments from the U.S. City Banking Center in San Antonio, Texas. So here's Department 1, looks like this. Department 2 looks like that. Department 3 looks like this. Department 4, oh, wait a minute, anything rhyming there? I see 2 and 4, and maybe even within Department 3 a little bit of the same structure in there. So that's what we're talking about. Visualizing a process, hundreds of performances of a process in order to find similarities and differences. So if you can put your data in this kind of format, basically CSV or XLS, just a spreadsheet, then ThreadNet can help you visualize it. Now, full disclosure, ThreadNet is in process. It's a work in process. ThreadNet 2 that I've been showing you is available for use. It's free. It runs on OS X or Windows. There's software documentation and some example data available to download at this URL. It does not provide support for temporal aggregation of occurrences into events. That's something that needs to be incorporated into the next version, ThreadNet 3, which is currently just a rough prototype. I'm rewriting it in R with a shiny R interface to make it kind of better visualizations, basically, is the whole motivation here. It'll have temporal clustering, and I'm still designing the features as of the first week of August here, 2017. So if you have ideas about what to do, please do let me know. Okay, so key points here are that process in the moment can be related to broader processes in many ways along many dimensions. You got to find the rhythm and the rhyme, the repetitive temporal patterns and the shared contextual patterns within the process. Visualizing processual data can help us find the rhythm and the rhyme. And tools like ThreadNet can help us visualize and compare. And that's all I got for today. Thank you so much.